Hi, I'm Andrew Lorick. I'm here at the Babcock Center.
And I'm Olivia Sitton, also here at the Babcock Center, a registered behavior technician.
And we'll be going over positive behavior supports. The section we'll be covering today is interactions. Frequent interactions are an important part of positive behavior support. They help reduce problem behavior and can increase the quality of life for people with disabilities whom we support. In addition to the importance of social interactions on quality of life, how interactions are provided for individuals we work with is important. There are 3 general guidelines for interactions that typically are useful to follow in most service settings for people with developmental disabilities. To help prevent problem behavior, interacting in the way shown with the guidelines serves as an antecedent for desirable behavior among people with disabilities whom we support. That is, interactions can make it more likely desirable behavior will occur and less likely that problem behavior will occur. In many situations, you are responsible for a group of individuals, for example, in a group home, on a work crew, or at the workshop. When working with groups, it is important to interact with every individual present. In order to interact with all individuals in a group, it is usually necessary to limit the interactions to a minute or less with each individual in order to have time to rotate interactions frequently across all people present. Of course, how often one interacts with each individual in a group should depend on the nature of each individual's needs and ongoing activity. For example, for people that work on a job, interaction should not occur so often that the interactions interrupt work. But an informal leisure situation during the evening in a group home, it would generally be desirable to have brief, frequent interactions with each individual. These could be, for example, positive comments about a person's previous work efforts or a simple greeting. Longer interactions with one person at a time can occur when there are several staff present, so that while one staff interacts continuously with one person, other staff can have brief interactions with other individuals. A second guideline for interacting with a group of people with developmental disabilities is to be positive. Positive interactions that show some type of approval or simply involve saying something nice are the types of interactions we all tend to like. Negative interactions that include some type of disapproval represent the types of interactions we tend to dislike. Providing frequent positive interactions helps increase enjoyment in the daily lives of individuals with whom we work, while negative interactions decrease enjoyment and make problems behavior likely. A third guideline is that interactions should be appropriate to the individual's communication style. To illustrate, if the person uses sign language, then we should include sign language. If the individual uses a picture communication system, then we should include the pictures. Also, it is important that we never talk down to a person, such as by talking to a teenager or adult in a manner that we would normally use with a child. That is, we should interact with individuals in an age-appropriate manner. Question for everyone to think about: what are the guidelines for interacting with people we support? The answers are: interact with all people, interact in a positive way, and interact in an appropriate way.
So the first goal that we see on the slide, in almost every situation, we should always try to interact with people that we support in a very positive way, more so than negative. In the perfect situation, there will be no negative interactions. However, perfect situations are rare and do not really exist. An example is at times people with developmental disabilities, like all of us, need negative feedback or need to be corrected for their actions. The second goal is, the general goal for positive interactions is that, 1, there should be at least some type of positive interaction that's observed, and 2, there should be more positive interactions than negative interactions. It's also important to note again that most normal interactions express no specific approval or disapproval. They are simply common conversations. Most interactions observed among support staff and the people with disabilities will not have any positive or negative features, but these types of typical social interactions are still very important for increasing a person's enjoyment. Third, the goal for appropriateness for staff interactions with people they support is that all interactions should be appropriate as defined earlier. That is, we should interact with individuals according to their age. Also, to be able to decide if interactions are appropriate, we must know what is appropriate for each individual. We must know the person's usual mode of communication. As Andrew said before, if they use sign language, then that's the type of communication that we should use, or any type of PECs or anything that they use, that's the type of way that we should communicate. So now we're going to go into our second question. Staff, what are the goals for interactions in a group setting? Is it A, to interact with everyone or with consumers if possible? B, majority of interactions are positive. C, all interactions are age appropriate. D, all of the above. Or E, none of the above. The answer is D, all of the above.
Earlier, we mentioned that frequent positive interactions can help prevent problem behavior. One way interactions prevent problem behavior is that when an individual is involved in a positive interaction with staff member, the individual is likely to be doing something enjoyable. As a result, the person is not likely to engage in problem behavior. There is also another way interactions can help prevent or reduce problem behavior. Earlier, we talked about the ABC model as part of positive behavior support. To review a little bit, the antecedents, the A part of the model, are events that occur before behavior that make it likely the behavior will occur. Behavior is the B part of the model, and the consequences, reinforcers or punishers, the C part. Reinforcers increase how often a behavior occurs, while consequences decrease how often a behavior occurs. As part of positive behavior support, we try to identify the antecedents to problem behavior and then remove or change those antecedents to prevent the problem behavior. That is, we try to find out what events usually come right before a problem behavior and then change those events before the behavior occurs. Before talking about changing antecedents to a problem behavior, it is important to note a common mistake. If we wait until the problem behavior occurs and then interact or redirect the individual to a desired activity, what is likely to happen? Normally, that would usually reinforce the problem behavior, which would likely increase their chances of that behavior occurring before. It's important that we respond prior to the problem behavior occurring. One way to change antecedents to problem behavior is to interact with an individual when we see the situation that usually is followed by a problem behavior. By interacting with the person before the problem behavior is likely to occur, two things happen that make it less likely there will be a problem. First, we interrupt and change the antecedent. Second, we redirect the person's attention away from the situation that is likely to lead to a problem behavior. An example of this would be you tell a consumer that it's time that they need to clean their towels. Their response to you is they begin to cuss you out. And when they start doing that, you tell them that that's not the way that they're supposed to talk to you. The A in this situation would be you giving the demand of washing towels. The B, the behavior, would be them cussing you out. And C, the consequence, would be you responding to that and telling them they're not supposed to talk that way. In this scenario, responding to that problem behavior likely reinforced them cussing you out as it provided attention to something that you shouldn't have provided attention to. Remember, we can use interactions within the ABC model to make it less likely that problem behavior will occur. We could do this by looking for antecedents to the problem behavior, interacting in a positive manner with the person as soon as we see the antecedent and before the problem behavior occurs, and redirecting the individual's attention to the interaction or another activity before the problem behavior occurs. So going back to our scenario with the dirty towels, a good antecedent strategy would be to possibly provide a choice to the consumer. So next time, instead of telling them it's time to wash your towels, you could say, would you like to wash your towels now or later this evening with different staff? By providing that choice, hopefully you would get a more positive response from them, and they will choose either to do them right then and there or to do them later when different staff arrive. There are two more questions to go over for everyone to think about. The first one is, what is the best way to respond to problem behavior? Is it neutrally, positively, common, negatively, or all the above? The answer is neutral. What are the different ways you can interact with people we support? Is it positive interactions, common interactions, negative interactions, neutral interactions, calm interactions, or none of the above? The answer is positive interactions, negative interactions, and neutral interactions. And the last question, what is the best way to respond to problem behavior? Is it neutrally, positively, common, negatively, or all of the above? The answer is neutral responding. And the best way to describe neutral responding is if a problem behavior is occurring, you need to do your best to limit eye gazes, have a very flat affect tone of voice, and to not respond to the problem behavior, as in do not tell them what they're doing is wrong or that they know that they're not supposed to do that. Thank you.
Bye.